So it actually looks like, well, first of all, welcome to our container security group meeting. Looks like the first item here, highlight accomplishments. There's no name by that. Tiago, do you or Wayne want to take that?
So we've started doing this as we stole the idea from the secure group, and we think it's great to celebrate the things that we accomplished since the past week. We don't go into detail, but the list is there for whoever wants to go into detail. I think Lindsay put it there, but that's the general idea. We'll do that every week. So I don't know who put it there, if it was Lindsay or you, Wayne, but thank you.
It was Lindsay.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
So now, general discussion. Any big takeaways from the CEO Shadow program, Sam?
Sure. I won't read everything I wrote. There's not a lot that impacts Defend. Overall, there's definitely a shift away from features. I think the product organization as a whole has been very feature focused and not so much usability focused. So there's a shift away from features and over to usability. How much does that impact us here in Defend? Maybe a little bit. You know, I think it means that we'll be deferring.
Guys, I got to interrupt you. You got pictures on the wall now.
I do. Yep. My office is making progress.
Wow. Sorry, I just had to mention it. Sorry. Go ahead, Sid.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that this impacts our prioritization a ton. You know, things like Falco Sidekick and active response options, we're likely to push that out even further than we've already pushed it out, just to avoid piling on new features and keep improving the usability of things we have. But, you know, where our category and our group is new, there's a lot that we still need to do in terms of usability. So it just so happens that almost everything we're doing right now almost perfectly lines up with usability already.
You can't improve on what doesn't exist, can you?
Right. So, you know, adding the policy UI is a great example, right? Where just the other day, you know, Tiago, even you ran into that hiccup over adding a policy. Like having that policy UI would have helped improve usability. So starting with that, adding in alert management, improving the installation experience, all of that is on our radar. I think that already aligns pretty well with where the company's headed. General takeaways, I got a lot out of it, especially considering that I want to start my own company at some point in time. It was super informative. Just it's amazing how transparent that is.
Experienced the same.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm happy to hear about the shift to usability.
So a question for the team was, how's the policy editor work coming along? Obviously, I've been gone for 2 weeks and don't have an update. I don't know if you have anything to show or tell. It looks like there's a lot in here async, but just wondering how we're going.
Yeah, I didn't ask the team. I don't know if you two, Arthur and Samir, if you have anything to demo, but in terms of progress on the Epic, out of the 7 issues, 3, I believe, are in review. I think 3 are in dev and already have MRs, so well in progress, and there's 1 that hasn't started yet. Samir and Arthur, it's completely okay if you don't, because I didn't ask and I don't know if you prepared, but do you have anything to show, a demo?
I don't. Some stuff is already in production, but it's
behind the feature flag,
and it's not fully ready.
That's all good.
Yeah, same for me. I have some stuff on back end, but it's not linked to the UI yet.
Do you think at some point during the iteration we can record a demo, or would that jeopardize and distract us from actually finishing it?
I would say we still need to get stuff in production to even record a demo, and it's still going to take some time. I'd love to comment that there are a couple comments from me and Zamir that it's mostly done, but
Oh, I haven't read
reviews
it.
are happening. Yeah, we had a few comments around this topic. So yeah, reviews are happening, but it takes time, and until it's merged, it's really hard to demo anything really.
Yeah, demoing locally is a bit more convoluted with your own local
I
branches.
don't even have a single branch where I have everything right now because I was doing a lot of stuff in parallel. So yeah, I don't even have like a
That's okay.
single branch working locally yet.
That's all right. It'd be good if we did, but yeah, I prefer to focus on finishing. Any other comments? Sorry, I jumped in and answered, and I didn't realize you two had put in there. Did you want to verbalize any of your answers?
I guess since it's my items next. Yeah, I already mentioned that in Mars, I'm mostly ready. Just waiting for reviews. And yeah, I don't think we're gonna make cross-environment policies in the release because partially I think we might want to consider changing plan a bit. The more I was thinking about it, I realized that maybe cluster-wide policies is a better solution than what we originally planned to do. Like the original plan was to essentially go and produce a code that will install policies in all environments, but I think it's quite inefficient and doesn't fit well into some of the stuff Zamir did. So what I was thinking is that Zamir can do another type of policy, which is cluster-wide Cilium policy. It's the same type, like it fits really well in what he's doing already. But since it's a new kind of idea, I think it's maybe better to do it next cycle.
And how would we target environments? So does that change the user decisions, how the user goes about it?
We have only two options right now: install policy into specific environment or across all environments. So in first case, you're going to use a Cilium policy, like just regular Cilium policy. And second case, you can use cluster-wide Cilium policy. And it just does exactly what we meant it to do in both cases, as far as I understand. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it feels like that.
So what do we need to do to go ahead?
So for that, would we just be changing this environment selector instead of a multi-select? They would only be able to select one of these. Basically, they can pick only one environment, or they can pick everything. Like instead of having lots of options, they can only pick one. Would that work?
No, in this case, yeah, I didn't see that we will allow selection per environment. Yeah, in this case, it's not a great idea. Yeah, maybe Zamir has thoughts about it, but if you need a selection for multiple environments, yeah, in this case, we would need some code that will duplicate policy in each environment, right? And cluster-wide Cilium policy is not going to work in this case, I think, but I need to read the docs. Yeah, it's a good question. I will try to find an answer for that.
So you're suggesting that for this first iteration, the user just picks one environment for the policy and that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the opposite is what I understood.
Yeah.
But.
So basically a radio button there without the select all option. So a drop-down selection, not a multi-select.
Right, what we have right now is just a drop-down. And I think that's what we do on the backend too. We just expect a single environment all the time to be supplied with our API calls, because that's how our current policy UI and calls work. But yeah, it's not hard to rework to support multiple.
I'm asking because I think the drop down had multiple selects, and it would be just be a single one.
I'm not sure what's your.
The one that Sam just showed.
Yeah, this is the one that Sam showed. Yeah, but it's not like that in the current production version. In current production version, we only have a drop down with a single value picker.
We can take this asynchronously. How do you feel it's best we discuss and communicate this on the Epic issue itself, on the implementation issue, or open a new issue for it? How do we want to?
Either
Do
way
you want to do
works
some
for me.
reading and get back to us?
Not really. Again, it's not about just an idea. It's just the fact that we most likely won't make, if I'm correct, but it's mostly because on Zamir side to finish backend support for multiple environments, and I think it will be tricky to squeeze in it in this cycle. So that's why partially I mentioned that it might be worth investigating other ideas as a part of this potential delay, but it's better for Zamir to ask it.
So Sam, I think this is more or less your call. Do you want to know more where we're gonna go? Or are you happy with this change to scope?
So I'm okay with that in the spirit of iteration. I just want to make sure we're clear. So it'd be something more like this, right? Where they pick just one environment.
Yeah.
Did you just make the change?
We have
I did.
You're getting good at this, Sam. You got to be careful. You can end up joining a front-end team.
No, that's not likely.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
I think that's just fine. We can add support for multiple environments later. Like we want to adhere to our iteration value. So, let's get, keep going with just one environment, get that done. And if it misses the release, we can always create a follow-up issue and prioritize that accordingly. So I think that's just fine to start with just one environment. I don't have any problems with that. Great, thanks for the update there. Arthur, Zamir, anything else to add that we haven't discussed on the policy work?
I don't think so. I think that the MRs are a little bit slower through this time, especially for the backends. Looks like the relationship between the environments and the deployment namespace and the tables are not like optimized to have a good query. So then we're going to have to work a little bit on that. And and that's basically what adding to what Arthur said already.
Zamir, why do you think the review process is going a little bit slower? Any reasons? Anything we can help?
I think it's just how things play together, like the matching that they have the person, then the person takes a little bit longer and they ask a couple of other things. It's just some people review quicker than others. Just we never know what's going to happen. That's
right. So it was just the chance, really. Are you in your new spot? Are you in Quebec?
No.
Your background looks different.
Here. Yeah, no, just change here the place in the house.
Right. Thanks.
All right. So then I guess my next question, do we know how much of the monitor team's backend we can reuse for alerts? Are there any updates there? I was originally hoping that we could use almost everything they had and just make some small changes to add support for security alerts. But anyway, I'm wondering where we're at on that.
Arthur's answer is pretty good.
Yeah, I did not spend too much time, but I was given some links that I checked. There is some possibility of reusing, but I'm not sure about front end specifically because we're kind of thinking about going with bots right now, right? In this case, not much we can reuse from the monitor health group, but backend is definitely an option, but I kind of don't feel like it's a good idea because historically it was really hard to work on cross-group pieces of code, and then it's still unclear who will be responsible for what and not breaking each other things. So stuff like that is definitely a concern for me personally. I don't know if it's a concern for them here. What I propose is just try not to focus on this yet. Maybe like we still need to do a Hubble related investigation and then see what we can use from the backend, but kind of not try to force it yet. We can always come back and restructure to use more of the patterns and models and stuff that is Monitor Health is using. But yeah, right now it's kind of undecided.
Yeah, now the summary that's the summary. We haven't refined the issues yet, and we decided that there's a spike that we want to do on Hubble. Once we have that spike, and as part of refinement, we'll be able to see if there's anything to reuse. But yeah, we don't know about drying up code and actually reusing or just taking inspiration. That'll be the least that we'll do. At least lessons learned will be taken on board. Anything around volume, because they're going to be dealing with the same sort of volume problems that we expecting to.
Yeah, it would be great if we can at least reuse like some of their database components and just put in a flag there between the two. I mean, there's a lot that's the same. You know, they already are, you know, roughly a year or so ahead of us. They've got incidents, the ability to take alerts and turn them into incidents. You can assign them to people, you can create issues. They've already done a lot of what we want to do. And I'm hoping if we can take the data from Hubble and have something in between where it converts it into the alert format, that we can just get most of what they have working already without, I mean, we're going to have to do some work to customize it for ourselves, but the more we can reuse, the better. Also, the first MVC, so I know we are planning to do like a board layout, but the first MVC, we can just stick with the same kind of layout that they have today, if it helps on the front end. If not, we can just go straight to the to more of the board layout. But let's see if I can come back here. So this was more in the future. You know, this was the MVC, is just kind of matching what they had today in alerts. Again, just to try to make it as small and as little as possible to match. You know, what's the smallest amount that we can get out the door without doing something too big?
Yeah, we're definitely not looking to reinvent the wheel, Sam. If there's room for use, we'll do that. But especially with the front end where things will change, it doesn't make sense to invest in reusing the same one, looking that we're gonna then pull out and go in a completely different direction. It might just be a copy and paste, right? We'll use theirs as a template and just modify what we need. So we'll definitely get some efficiency from that. It's not 100% clear yet what it is and what isn't. But we'll have it in mind.
That makes sense. Well, thanks. I was just wondering there. All right. So, and it looks like we probably will have time. Just an update on usability testing. So Kyle is kicking off both of those solution validations this week. One solution validation for the alert management and one for policy management. So far we had one meeting. It was with somebody internal to GitLab on the GitLab security team. Feedback was great, very supportive. Most of it confirmed what we have already. We got a lot of good feature requests for things in the future that are outside of the scope of the MVC. For example, just to give you one here as an example, was to add like an alert notification item up at the top right corner so that they can keep track of everything.
You're not sharing.
Like up here, you've got your to-dos, you know, but to add a new like alert notification up there, obviously that's outside of the scope of the MVC, but I just wanted to share some of that early feedback. And then my last note there is I've been updating, both Kyle and I have been updating the prototype out here. So, you know, if you have time, feel free to take a look at it. This is what we're using to test, to walk our users through when we're doing the testing. So some things work, some things don't. Some of this Kyle built, some of it I built. But, you know, there's some of it is actually like semi-working, which is kind of cool. think only one of these is one you can click. We still need to finish out this details pane. But another thing to note is in the policy editor, I have some initial work done for pod security policies. So here you can pick either runtime container policy or runtime cluster policy. And cluster applies cluster wide, so that's really where the pod security policies get applied. And again, roughly fleshing out what this might look like, how it generates the YAML. Pod security policies are pretty big, so I only have part of the specification in here, not everything. But just wanted to share that, as well as if I come over here to container policies. So now you can flip this from network traffic to files and write a file policy in here as well. So if files are read or written or executed, so this would be that example that I asked about the other day, would be something like this. By any process where it matches, and it looks like that one's not generating. Let me see if this one works. So here we go. Let's see, hosts. For example. Anyway, I'm still working on it. This syntax very well might be not accurate, but just something to note and to take a look at if you have time here. And again, it kind of shows the idea that both of these can potentially live together. It looks like I have a couple bugs in the script right now, but where you'll be able to add both file and network policies, it'll generate your AppArmor and your Cilium YAML, and you can pick what you want to do with the file activity and what you want to do with the network traffic. So I know with all of this, we're getting like way out far ahead of development in all of this. So I please do not feel overwhelmed. I know that, we've only got 2 developers and we've got a long way to go, but the goal of this is just to flesh out a little bit more so that we can get some good user testing on it, get some feedback, and make sure that when we do come back to adding in like AppArmor and, Falco and pod security policy rules into here, that we have a direction on how that might work.
So Sam, while you were away, Arthur was doing some work on his home lab, and he posted a good summary of what he learned when he was. I don't know if you want to verbalize the main points, Arthur, that would impact what Sam was describing just now.
Yeah, the main point is psps are in beta, and there are no plans to move this piece of work in Kubernetes stable, and there are actually mentions that psps actually will be deprecated completely. And alternative suggestion for psps is a separate product, not product, piece of software that's called Open Policy Agent. And yeah, so there is a chance that in a couple of versions, which is probably a year or 2 down the road, psps will be gone, and there will be no substitution other than an external plugin like an Open Policy Agent. And on top of that, I had a really rough time with psps because we're kind of providing, and it's a Kubernetes issue, obviously not on us. We are providing a way to install policies in Word AppArmor, but the problem is psps are disabled by default on most clusters. I didn't realize that. And to enable it, you essentially have to reconfigure your API server on Kubernetes, and it's essentially it's a hard task. I would stop this. It's possible to do, but it's not something that we will be able to, like, let's say, create a script for. Users would be doing that manually, and we can't really assist with that. And I'm not even sure how to do on, like, let's say, in managed environments like GKE and AKS, where master node is completely out of your control. So Yeah, there are definitely room for improvement up there. That's what I wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's a great heads up. Thank you for that. I saw that while I was on my CEO shadow, and I did not read it all the way. I kind of put it on the list of things to go back and read afterwards. So we do have an issue about integrating with OPA. It's not planned anytime soon, but yeah, thanks for that heads up. I think, we'll probably start with the, I don't know, because you have to have a pod security policy in place in order to enforce AppArmor, right? So it becomes tricky. Like,
no, just for default policy and for allowed policies. If you just want to link it up with the pod and service, that you can still do that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
there are two ways of doing things in regard to the flow of security settings on a container and pod environment. The PSP was supposed to be a global settings, like you set it once and it's enforced across your cluster, and you don't have to put the same annotation over and over again into your YAML files. But there is also a security context on the pod itself that does the same thing as a PSP, but it only applies to a single deployment, or similar services. So I think it's much easier to use security context right now because you don't have to pre-configure anything. And essentially you have the same tools. The downside is you have to apply it to every unit of work you have in Kubernetes. But since we're kind of in control of those units of work through the environments, it's a decent option for us.
It's an extra loop for us.
Yeah.
And it actually more value to the user, right? Less things for them.
In my experience, it's just enabling PSPs. It's too much for us to ask right now. That's the biggest issue for me. If we're having so many issues with cluster integrations, asking to reconfigure master node in Kubernetes will be an interesting suggestion. So yeah, I definitely think like maybe shifting to pod security contexts based integration is a bit better right now for us.
So something to keep in mind, Sam. We're obviously plenty busy with other stuff to offer to do a proof of concept or anything like that, but it was helpful that Arthur had a chance to play in his own time.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's likely that when we do come back around, we'll start with AppArmor anyway. So it'll be a while before we do more with pod security policies. So at that point, we'll just need to remember to revisit that question of, do we want to keep pod security policies or use pod security context or OPA or something else? So but thank you for that, Arthur. Appreciate it. All right. Anything else? 1 minute left.
Actually, 5 minutes ago should have ended, but okay.
Technically.
Technically.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much. Have a good day.